And without any further ado, I'm very happy and pleased to invite on stage longtime Dasra supporter and board member, and someone who's invested a lot in Dasra's journey and guided us throughout the way, and has had the opportunity to engage with all of you at many forums in different geographies, and that's Tarun Jotwani. So with that, I'd love to invite Tarun to kick us off.
Thank you, Vishal, and a warm welcome to all of you. So I'm attending Stanford University for a year as a DCI fellow, and so I'm here from London for a year, and I brought the rain. And I see an astonishing amount of capital here sloshing around, and with that, dreams of the riches to be made in AI and life sciences. Move fast and break things, they say around here. This dizzying advancement of new tech with clear rules, without any clear rules on the use of biased data, ethical boundaries, has created a vast array of losers, income inequality, and increasing digital divide. And we are all impacted. But belatedly and thankfully, there's a greater awareness of this. And so you combine this increased consciousness with this excess liquidity and wealth that is being created here, and we see the rise of social impact investing. It's everywhere. It's not clear to me, though, what it exactly means. It's a very generic, broad term that covers a wide spectrum, sometimes clearly defined, sometimes grossly misused. But social impact investing is attracting lots and lots of capital. I see that here, I see it in London, but I do not believe it is adequate for building social infrastructure for the poorest. So can we please divert some of this enormous amount of capital to invest in the area which I believe will be the maximum impact, the very poor, to break the vicious cycle of poverty. So as per Dasra's latest report on foreign giving into India, which is on your tables, we have seen a sharp reduction in foreign giving. So the question is it because funds have been diverted from philanthropy into social impact? Or is it that India is now a middle-income country with a lot, or is perceived to be a middle-income country, with a lot of accumulated wealth present? And so the American foundations and givers feel that Indians in India should give more and fill up the shortfall. And yes, there are indications and very encouraging signs of local giving. Bain Consulting has run the numbers. According to their 2019 philanthropic report, private funding for the social sector in India grew at 15% per year from 2014 to 18. And Bridgepoint, the consulting firm, points out that Indian philanthropists are, quote, taking an entrenched social challenges in high-need areas and deploying their resources as risk capital aimed at catalyzing population-level change, unquote. So a lot is happening there. And concurrently, public funding, government funding, grew at 10% per annum, outpacing GDP growth for the same period, 14 to 18. And currently, government spending stands at 6% of GDP. Foreign contributions, however, have declined by 40% through this period. And that is a big issue. Foreign contributions are crucial, and they're crucial for the know-how they bring. So the scale of India's problems is massive, even as robust economic growth is lifting millions of people into the middle classes. But chronic poverty remains embedded, obstinately embedded. The trickle-down from top-line economic growth plays a limited role at the bottom of the socio-economic pyramid. And a lot of us who live there and visit there don't see that. And the numbers are stark. Even if current economic growth in India is sustained, by 2050, 330 million Indians will remain mired in poverty. These households earning, in 2050, less than $130 per month. So, do we have a universal benchmark to aim towards? Yes. Sponsored by the United Nations and agreed upon by 193 countries locally, SDGs, or Strategic Development Goals, provide a common framework to attain the elimination of poverty and malnutrition. And India has fully embraced and adopted these goals, so we have something to go by. And India's SDG ranking is a miserable 112. So to achieve just 5 out of the 17 SDGs, and assuming optimistic growth estimates, as well as growth in local funding, as well as growth in the government spending, India has a shortfall of a staggering $60 billion a year to achieve just 5 out of the 17 SDGs. So a radical rethink is required. The good news is that there's clear evidence of increased collaboration between the government, both central and state governments, and philanthropy capital at the field level. There's far greater acceptance. There are huge multipliers when the government adopts a private philanthropy-funded program and implements it at scale. This then frees up philanthropic risk capital to be redeployed elsewhere, and so the catalytic cycle continues and circulates. And this focus on collective impact, I believe, is a real opportunity for all of us to up our engagement, knowing that we can make substantial impact and have accountability on how our dollars are spent. The Indian development sector now has a sophisticated ecosystem, has much greater ability to absorb and productively employ larger and larger amounts of grant capital. Stakeholders with larger pools of capital are inviting smaller pools of capital to participate with them, smaller pools of capital like Anne and me. And therefore, through this co-investment, we can have accountability and make greater impact. And we have increasingly organizations like Dasra engaged in strategic philanthropy that can help all of us navigate the development space in India. So, with almost half our children in India illiterate, 3 million children living on the streets, over 10 million children as bonded laborers, and 1 in 6 girls not living to see their 15th birthday, the statement that children are the future of the nation stops making any sense. There truly cannot be any greater joy than seeing the spark of hope in a child's eyes. As Anne and I did when we hosted the Indian Street Children team to the UK for the Street Children World Cup cricket tournament, at Lord's no less, which they won. They were literally children picked up from orphanages to play the game. So as much as we hear this, the much beloved American poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou said, "I have found that among its other benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver." We do hope that you as donors join us on this journey. With that, I'd also like to invite my partner and my wife, Anne, to come in. She's made a few journeys, so I thought we'd share that with you.
Good morning. It may not look like it, but I'm Indian by the stars, or so my parents-in-law told me. I was born in New Delhi. I lived in Madras as a child. I went to boarding school in Kodaikanal, and I lived in Bombay with my family recently. My parents always celebrated India, and they gave a lot back to India, and now it's our turn to do the same. Over the last decade, I've been fortunate to have had opportunities to visit and engage with communities in Bombay, bringing to light many of the daily challenges marginalized families face. Then last spring, I was offered the chance to board a train and to join the Dasra team on an immersive journey in Jharkhand. I realized that this would be an opportunity of a lifetime to understand daily challenges in distant rural communities, especially in poorer states such as Jharkhand. Jharkhand is one of the most impoverished states in India, with a record number of girls dropping out of school and marrying early. With Quest Alliance, an NGO, we visited rural schools where hundreds of children and teens, a mix of both Muslims and Hindus, addressed classes under the supervision of only 2 teachers. In addition, sanitation was very poor. There were only corrugated metal doors serving as stalls and bare ground. Without toilets and privacy, the girls are particularly vulnerable, leading many just to drop out of school. We know that when adolescent girls leave school, they are often constrained to the home, susceptible to early marriage, domestic abuse, and have little opportunity for any further education. Gender equality exists at every turn in these communities. However, we saw that several NGOs are working in Jharkhand to mitigate these dire situations. Dasra took our group to such a safe place, a bare room decorated with motivational phrases and motifs. There are around 20 young girls sitting together with a young woman in a similar situation, who led the girls through songs, stories, and discussions about home and life, relationships, their goals and concerns. They sang a song to the world, that the world is full of stars, small stars, Bollywood stars, girl stars, and most importantly, their own star. It is here where NGOs do the most important work of listening to girls, building their confidence, and showing them that they can be safe and achieve their dreams. It is a place where girls are encouraged to reconsider going to school, to fend off offers for early marriage, to live safely at home, and to become girl stars, empowered by the friendship and support of others to stand up for themselves and others like them. In particular, Dasra's 10 to 19 Adolescent Collaborative Platform brings together funders, governments, and social organizations to allow this work to happen. I can say that this was happening right there during our visits. I know a woman from a community like this one who would have been a girl star, but she made it to university. She grabbed an opportunity to study at the Asian University for Women, one of the first liberal arts universities in Asia. She left her parents' farm in Jharkhand and flew to Chittagong. She was a stellar student, humble and gracious, and over the moon when eventually she was given the opportunity to attend Oxford for a master's in climate change and management. I've been watching Savitri and her journey, and she has shown me that through resilience, hope, sheer intelligence and guidance from many supporters who helped her from the fields of Jharkhand to the halls of Oxford to IIT Bombay, and now preparing for the Indian Administrative Services exam, hoping to give back to the country she calls her home. Her journey was facilitated by many supporters sitting in Jharkhand, in Bangladesh, in London. I feel so lucky that I've been part of her journey and to truly understand the impact that organizations and mentors have had on one young woman out of many millions. Whether in the countryside or in urban communities, Dasra and many other devoted NGO initiatives have an effective and inspiring reach. One can read about it, but it is much more instructive and inspiring to live it, if only for a brief moment on the road, and for many more years to come when one returns to the comfort of one's home. We all do what we can as donors, but we can all do much more. I encourage you to raise your hand and jump on the Dasra train. You will be energized, inspired, make new friends, see the beauty of the villages, countrysides, cities, and the smiles of many, many young people and old people. If you're adventurous and lucky enough, you will have the ride of a lifetime and make you as a donor that much more complete in your giving. Thank you.